Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2017 Poetry Slam.
Thankfully, our theme this year is serving one another in love, a topic that you should be familiar with, as you have seen.
Moving on, I would like to introduce the honorary judges. Please give a big round of applause for each judge as I call his or her name. Dr. Murdoch, Mrs. Finch, Mr. Sager, Mrs. Kraft, and Mrs. Beatty.
And here are the contestants. 2 students per course have put in their hearts and effort for today. So as they perform, please give your undivided attention.
After all performances, the judges will choose the winner and the runner-up for this year.
Then you guys will have the chance to vote for your crowd favorite.
But please note that the winner and the runner-up cannot be voted for this. This time of year, behold, you will be dazzled by people all bold.
That was a nice effort to sound poetic using rhyme and iambic meter. But I want to hear real, rich poetry. Give it up for our first contestant, Hano.
Okay, be quiet. Okay, so my poem is in the theme of serving one another in love, and it revolves around the theme of math, so it might get a bit confusing in the middle. Yes. Point 0. If hate were to be a point and love were to be a curve, 1. Not to be too abstract, but you are like a circle. You have so many points, you have none. You are a rounded person. You go with the flow. Your point was to be peaceful and to never crash, but circles don't have points, which is probably why you could love. Which moves me on to 2. Not to be too abstract, but you are like a 0. Just like a circle, you are round, but not just round, always around. You don't react to a no, express with an X, multiply you with 1 or 1,000, you'll still stay the same. Some may call it lame, and I used to too. Let me be a bit more edgy. 3. Not to be too abstract, but I am like a triangle. I am awkward, pointy, rigid, often acute, sometimes obtuse, and rarely right. I often get tangled. Rectangled, and lines often try to shave points of mine to make 2 new more. And there, tangled will be in my name. I used to deem this a shame too. 4. Not to be too abstract, but for me, a rectangle, every time a sharp end cuts a point of mine, gain 2 new ones, and lose something that was once mine, I lose balance. Despite having 2 of something I know, because I lost everything I knew, I lose balance, and I look to you. 5. This is too abstract, but I think that as a triangle, I was afraid of hurting you. And I'm going somewhere with this. I have a point. In fact, I'm a triangle. I have 3. A, we clash because every single time I try to lean on you, you would roll away. B, sometimes I would try to dent you on purpose with my 3 points that I've shaped like arrows across the time. But when we clashed, you would only numb my points. Turn hate into love, point into curve. You are of something stronger than I am. So I decay into something better every single crash. C, I don't even have a 3rd point at this point. You numbed it so much. 6. I may be too abstract. Before, I was a triangle, got in touch with some lines to become a rectangle, and then I felt like I was gone. I went from pentagon to hexagon to heptagon to octagon, and when I finally got to nonagon, I wished for something stable. 7. I am abstract. I change so often, I'm more of a concept, but thanks to you, I'm also 2 points and 1 curve. 1 hate less and all the love more, which makes me a semicircle. Not as whole as you yet, in fact, I'm just about half, but when I become a circle, after we clash even more, we'll just both be pointless. But it's not all that pointless, because if we lose all of our points, then we'll have nothing to lose, and we'll both be circles together. So thank you for bearing the clashes, falling eyelashes, and more. When I become a circle, with no sides to slash, we can clash with others together. breaking points, forming curves, and they too will become pointless. Thank you.
Wow, even the title was ironic because the poem was not pointless at all.
Yes, Yuri. This was only the first poem. You'll be far more mesmerized when you hear more.
Can't wait to hear our next contestant, Mia.
Hi, so my poem is basically about how when we are selfish, we sometimes forget what love truly means. Love, defined by the dictionary to be a feeling of deep affection, a creation of a connection, a feeling of protection, an intersection of two hearts. A reason when we help one another, help our fallen brothers when they've stumbled or must be humbled, why we need no other payment than a simple statement saying thank you for your service. This is enough because love is a human obligation, a new world sensation deserved by every abomination who has made a wrong choice, a wrong turn down a dark alleyway that has led their life to fade away and could have been avoided by a simple I love you. If someone asked you for your help, how would you answer? Would you ignore their plea, try to flee, ask them, why did you pick me? What will it be? No. No, when there's a person standing in front of you asking for your help, asking for a second chance. No. No, when there are countless people lying on streets asking the same question to thousands of strangers who, like you, refuse them, leaving them to face the world's dangers alone. You ask why this is such a big issue, you crumple and disregard it as if it were a tissue, yet you still wish for someone to kiss you, for someone to miss you. And is that not asking for love? And yet you still wonder why you are wrong, saying that people are strong and need no hand to help them along. You are too headstrong, and you are certainly wrong, because no one is perfect, and everyone deserves it, from every misfit to every hermit. And if this is true, why do so many struggle with monthly payments, others caring more about smooth pavements than enslavement or child endangerment? Bang, bang, your words shoot down dreams just as bullets shoot down people. In this world of hatred, in this world of no's when asked for love or forgiveness. Love is not something you frame. Service is not something you do for fame. They are not trophies to be accomplished, but gifts to be given. These things should not be taken so lightly, because without them we would not shine so brightly. When you serve someone, you are preserving a fire that ignites them, creating a nation of stars that eclipse the fatal scars that hatred has bestowed upon them. Let this message shine as if it were a neon sign on the edge of a road leading towards a better future. And this movement will not be slowed until you see it at every curve so enlightening it makes you swerve, until you feel the urge to serve in your every nerve. The truth is so simple. Just help preserve the twinkle in every child's eyes until they begin to wrinkle, and love one another.
Hands are used to clap, to grab, to touch, to...
Oh, please. Can't you be more creative like Kalista?
Hi, my poem is called Hands, and it's about a story of my best friend and I help each other realize the beauty of life by using our hands. And you'll see how. Please enjoy. Last month, I was sitting in a cafe hearing the chitter-chatter of couples talking about their day, hearing the soft jazz linger in the air, hearing the espresso drip one by one into an Americano. And I leaned back into my chair, hearing the world around me. And when I was about to take a sip of my coffee, a guy comes up to me, looks around my age, but asked me in slurring words about my story, about who I was. And at first, I was incredibly terrified. My shoulders hunched up to my ears, my hands started to shake, my legs were stiff as sticks. But then he smiled, and there was something more to him than I had expected at first. And I didn't know what it was. until a couple days later, we had trouble communicating. At first, I thought, why is he talking like that? But before I could question myself any further, he stopped and looked up at me. But he started to talk to me with his hands. And then it hit me. I was talking to a deaf person, and he couldn't hear himself talk because of a car accident that made him go deaf at the age of 10. And since then, I've been learning sign language, and every day I would tell him bits of my story and who I was through my hands. And every day, he would tell me bits of his story and who he was through his hands. And he told me that it must be so amazing to wake up in the morning to the birds and to always respond to people in times of their need, to hear my own voice, that I have power and control over who I am. And I shook my head, explaining to him that the birds annoyed me in the morning, so I shoved my head deeper into the pillow. I never responded to those who called my name. I feel voiceless, even though I can hear my own voice scream at the top of my lungs. And he signed, "Do you know what it feels like to only hear your thoughts?" You feel trapped. But when days went on and our talks increased, we shared a reciprocal love of best friends that reminded each other the beauty of life with or without the ability to hear it. We told each other every day, whether you can or cannot hear your own voice, it is your choice to remind yourself that you're in control. So that night, when we went to a museum and fell in love with the paintings and saw the purple of flowers and tasted the blue of water and smelled the green of trees and touched the brown of dirt, life is still just as beautiful. So no matter how big the challenge was, we loved helping each other. So when he passed away a few days ago, I knew I wanted to tell our story, not only with my voice, but also with my hands. Thank you.
I found a new diet for you. Grapefruit diet.
Grapefruit? I love grapefruit.
Francis, prepare your poem.
My poem's called Bittersweet, and it's for my dad. For my dad, with the rising sun comes those who thirst. Thirst for something to quench their day. Quench their day of the ringing voices of the child you have to care for. The unemployed son you have to care for. The aunt fighting cancer you have to care for. Or maybe even the ignorant boss you have to care for. Basically, the life that was given to them. You know, my dad always said that the creamy feeling you get inside from giving one a cappuccino. The bitter feeling you get inside from giving one a small little espresso. The sweet feeling you get inside from giving one a cappuccino. He said that's why. He works despite the why. Why a coffee shop waiter? Why not an engineer? Why not a singer? Why not a production manager? Why not anything else? He waits on the counter every day, looks outside the window every day, waiting for the opportunity to give every day. And when the opportunity does come, every drop of sweet and every ounce of love he puts into a 5 to 13 millimeter drink. For me, that means the world. And he bruised not for the slips of money. It's not the slips of money that matter for my dad. For my dad, what matters is the arc of the mouth, the rising of the cheeks, the smile on the face. He bruised not for the money, but he bruised to give, to help, to give for someone in need, to serve someone with love. And when it does happen, it creates a smile in my heart. So, Dad, I want to thank you for everything you've done in my life. And so, one day, I asked my dad, hey, Dad, but doesn't making coffee get boring? No. So I asked why. He said, no, loving never gets boring. So I asked, why is that? Because it's bittersweet. Thank you.
Next up, we have Brian Kim.
Hi guys. Sorry, I'm kind of nervous. This is, I guess, taking account that this is my title, if you didn't see, is 2 feet from shoes. Think of this as a letter from the companion that's been with you every step of the way. Two feet. Before your first steps, you had a shoe box, a box with weird symbols, a box that was enough, a box that held something for your steps on the rough, something to hold your own 2 feet. Shoes. Each pair has a story. You remember each wear because you remember the journey with that pair. But some feel to know is the best quest of all because it's the journey you took with a plethora of pairs. A journey you take and return so different. A journey you take on your own 2 feet. Shoes. You were born with 2 fat feet, each so exposed, each kind of neat. It's with your 2 bare feet that you show your true self, no covers, no effort, just your own 2 feet. Trainers. The pair that you wore when you first saw them, sparks in the air and the noise, all blur. Whose eyes were all set? What made your heart stop? When you held your breath, where you just want to drop on your fleeting 2 feet. Vans. The pair you wore on your first date stinks of nervousness and stress and your feet's sweaty mess. But you remember the moment, both still and locked eyes, where you want to take the moment and save it polarized on your captured 2 feet. Boots. The pair that you wore when standing in the rain, you liked those K-dramas. Your mom thought you insane. But we all know what happened that kiss at noontime. You were on your tiptoes. It was the first kiss for the lifetime on your wet 2 feet. Clogs. Do you remember what you threw on that first dispute? That's right, those shoes, the ones left in fragments. But they were also the ones that were closest to you when you finally made up and saw each other's views on your 2 bare feet. Oxfords. The pair that you wore to that special event, you were ecstatic and nervous, your fingers crossed and bent, your shoes polished and matching her lithe black dress when you finally bent knee and she finally said yes. The yes to the ring, the yes and I do, the yes that you said in front of the pews on your jumping 2 feet. Flip-flops. The pair that you wore near crashes, wrong shoes. Your hands intense and your mouth clenched with the arrival of the 9-month news. The same pair that you wore when you were clutching her hand, the same pair that you wore when you saw her first stand. A baby born with 2 fat feet. Shoes. Though a good story, some walk on harder steps, a journey of misery, a journey of suspense, like the pair that you wore when you first felt the shock, the same pair to that room when you felt their heart stop, The pair you exchanged for, all clad in black, the air stiff as a coffin, where they lay still on their back. Or that one summer's day when you first heard the news, they took a trip to the bridge and they abandoned their shoes and were found with 2 limp feet. Shoes. Whether it's a step towards attraction, a step towards stress, a step in the rain for that first kiss, a step down the alley, a step down on knee, a step towards each other to break reality. Whatever steps you take, whatever missteps you make sure to help others on their own 2 feet. From your companion with you on each step, your one and only shoes. Thank you.
Now, it's time for Christina Lee.
Hi. I hope this poem reminds you of the person you love, whether it may be a family member or a friend or a significant other or, you know. When I first met love, I didn't know I was looking at love. Love came rather unexpectedly. Love didn't make much sense, like a noticeable absence, a crash landing, or an upward fall. But time passed, and I got to see the parts of love that I didn't see at first. Love had eyes. Sometimes love's eyes were brighter than the fireworks in the 4th of July. Sometimes love's eyes were dull, like the foggy skies. Other times, love's eyes shifted around, looking to see if there was any pain that could be taken away. Love's eyes always seemed to find just what I needed, at the right time and at the right place. Love had a voice. Sometimes love was as annoying and repetitive as a broken record. You are beautiful, you are amazing, you are worth it, you are special. And even though those words all meant the same thing to me, I also knew that love meant it all, each and every time. Those words were praising the very parts of me that I recognized as my flaws. But don't get me wrong, love also spilled the dark truths and the uncomfortable facts. Love made sure that I was walking the right path, even if it hurt me. But love also reminded me that the pain would go away before I could even count to 3. Love had arms that reached as far as the world could possibly stretch. Love had arms that I could grab onto when the world simply brushed me away. Love's arms kept me stable and embraced me like a warm and cozy jacket on a cold winter day. Love had hands. Sometimes those hands would hold on to mine as we walked alongside each other. Other times, love's hands pulled me away from certain things and led me to another. Love had hands that wiped away my tears, and those hands just happened to be the same ones that pushed away my fears. Love had the guts to try new things. This often put love into some very awkward situations because love was like a child, always wanting more. Sometimes love wanted a bit too much, but love never settled for too little. Go hard or go home, love said. But love made mistakes, and so did I. But even when I felt like I was drowning in waves of my own errors, love made sure to catch me, yet never expected me to catch love in return. Love had the legs and feet to walk away. Love came and love left. Love comes and love still goes. Sometimes love leaves me a note telling me exactly where love is headed, and other times love leaves without a word. Sometimes it hurts, sometimes it doesn't. But each time love comes around, I remind myself that that is exactly who I want to be for the ones around me, the ones stuck in the middle of nowhere, the ones gasping for air in their own fears and disappointments, the ones with frightened eyes and shaky voices and fragile arms and clammy hands and trapped feet. When I first met love, I didn't know I was looking at love. I guess it's hard to recognize someone that comes from above. Thank you.
Hey, it's for you. Next is Megan Yu.
Hi, I'm Megan, and this poem is really up to your interpretation, but it's titled Empty Trains and Dead People. As you wait for the train, each bump against your shoulder fills you with new, empty thoughts. Thump. You hear the clinking of coins, and you know there's someone behind you shoving bills into a vending machine only you know is broken. You should tell her to stop, save her money, pick a different one, but you don't. The train's already coming anyway. She'll figure it out. Thump. Off to the side, a man steps off the all-stop train, arguing with his daughter on the phone. Something slips out of his pocket. It could be something really important, like a forgotten reminder to pick up a cake for his wife. It's their 20th anniversary, but while you're thinking all of this, someone steps on it first. It was probably just a business card or a phone number. Anyway, thump. And that girl in front of you, the one with the low-top classic sneakers, a pair of round metal frames clinging awkwardly to the bones of her face, she looks kind of like someone you know. Another train rumbles through, barely missing door after door, the waves of people rushing out and in, like oxygen diffusing out and in of a near-bursting blood cell. The train for Oksu has now arrived. Please stand behind the yellow line. You stand in line as you wait for yet another crowd to push past you. But as you're getting on the train, the girl next to you trips. And it's like watching someone die over and over, unable to do anything. She slips forward as her foot tips, anchored into the space between platform and train. And in the midst of all the shoving and pushing, you're suddenly wondering if this is the day you see someone get ripped apart. Fact. The average adult has anywhere from 4.5 to 5.5 liters of blood circulating inside their body. You'd think with that much blood pumping out and in of our hearts, we'd know what it means to care. But you just stand there, staring at her over-colored, frizzed-over hair as she struggles to free herself from the train, watching the blush and the sweat start to form on her neck when she realizes no one is going to help her up, wondering at the way her frazzled eyes clash with her awkward jawbones, the way her bright lipstick ages her dress. Fact. The average human body has enough blood to overfill the capacity of a 1-gallon milk jug. You'd think with that much blood rushing somewhere between 0.5 to 4 millimeters beneath our skin, we'd know what it means to care. Somehow, the doors haven't closed yet, and when she starts to get up, relief surges through you. She'll figure it out. Somehow, you're holding on to her suitcase for her, because somehow saving her suitcase was more important than keeping her from becoming a train wreck. But this love is a dead shopping mall, shattered glass crunching beneath every step, dead plants motionless, the fading wallpaper peeling off like curls of dead skin. Not a thing breathes in there, and you let her slip into that dish. You should stop staring. You should call for help. You should offer your hand, but you don't, and she couldn't get her foot out. Thank you.
Next up is Daren Yang with Fortuna.
Hi. The title of my poem is named Fortuna, and it's kind of abstract. It talks about how we're all in love with something we find beautiful, and maybe we should try considering sharing that beauty with other people who can't find it. Thank you. How does the moon stay suspended in the sky? It has no wings and no ability to fly, and yet it glimmers ever so brightly, catching everyone's eye. But would it be as beautiful or as glorious without the stars? How does the lake shimmer at night? Well, I can tell you. It's because the white, milky moonlight shines down and bounces off its reflective surface, catching everyone's eye. And yet, would it be as beautiful or as glorious without the stars? How fortunate is it that the world is to have a starry net that encompasses all? How do trees grow so tall? Well, it's because of the earth. It holds on tightly to its roots, always providing nutrients, urging it on before it falls. And yet, would it be as strong or as firm without water? How do flowers blossom as they do? Well, it's because the sun's rays dances upon its petals, the clouds adorning its rays, urging them on before they fall too. And yet, would these flowers be as healthy or as vibrant without water? You see, life is a cycle of giving and taking, and how fortunate are we as human beings to be able to appreciate this beauty. For a gazelle that sits atop a cliff does not look down upon a shimmering lake and admire its beauty, rather only recognizing it as a resource for life. Because you see, humankind has always had this strange fascination for beauty, a certain transfixion on the skies and the heavens above, an unquenchable asphyxiation to get closer to whatever we find beautiful. The Stonehenge, the Tower of Babel, the Empire State Building, ever since the beginning of time, we've reached out to the heavens. But it seems like the closer we got to the skies, the further we fell. But now, we can finally make it what we considered our final destination. And as you get into your rocket ship and it turns into the sky, towards the moon, and it gets closer and closer until finally, congratulations. You've made it. And it's beautiful. But was it worth it? Alone in space, your sins creeping up your spine as you remember all those you pushed down to get where you are. And as we turn back to Earth, our home planet, that's when we finally realize the true beauty that we've missed out on. So, what to do next? Are you going to get into your rocket ship and fly out to explore the rest of the stars? Because that seems a little bit selfish to me. Life is a cycle of giving and taking, but it seems like all we've done is take. But perhaps now is the time when we can finally give back. Because although the more fortunate may fly out past us to explore the beauties that await them in the vast expanses of the universe, perhaps now is the time for the fortunate to care for the unfortunate. Because, you see, there are people down here that look up and see no sky. Because there are people down here that look up and see no stars. Because there are people down here that look up and see no beauty. Does that seem fair to you? Let's get off our high horses, shall we? Let's take the elevator back down to floor 1. Let's steer our rocket ships back to Earth. Because I believe that it is most fortunate that we as human beings are not only able to appreciate beauty, but to share the wonder of it as well. Thank you.
Hey, Andy, do you think you're a great speller?
Yeah. Oval. O-V-E-L.
So, this poem is dedicated to my first friend here in Korea. I stand here reflecting on where I am now, who I am, what I've become, and ponder about the things of the past. Memories flooding whilst racing my brow. Memories of those fun-filled times, frolicking around, not paying attention to what I was told. Heading back to the classroom, sweating body and knees scraped up, content with the life that I had as a 10-year-old. For you see, being a 10-year-old is the greatest thing ever. No APs, no physics, no responsibilities. Back then, everything was better. Or so it should have been. Being a new kid in Korea was tough. The absence of a soccer ball, being kicked around in the streets, the lack of children playing outside, thousands of childhoods being denied. Fast forward to a couple of months, being picked on for simply not knowing the same tongue as my peers. Glances and stares every time the Wegugin passed by. Tears rolling down my cheeks most days, I cannot deny. To all those people who made my life miserable, I wanted to pay them back so bad. I wanted them to feel the hell that I had to go through. Yet through it all, it was my guardian angel, one who I could call the embodiment of compassion, one who I can still call a friend. See, he was caring enough to stretch out his hand and befriend me, this Wegugin who had nothing to offer back. To this friend, I have just two words to say. Thank you. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for loving me and taking care of me. Thank you for, although it wasn't easy for you, you did what you thought was right. For I know everyone is fighting their own fight. And in this case, it's love others with all your might. Not only did I gain a friend, but also much more. Someone willing to sit with me and talk to me. Someone willing to guide me into this new culture. Someone who I know always has my back. To this day, this person reminds me of what it means to serve out of love. He is someone that I am truly proud of. For everything you've done and continue to do, thank you.
Next, we have Sarah Kim with OVEL.
So, I wrote this poem and thinking about how love is spelled out in my life, and I hope it makes you think about how love is spelled out in your life. Yeah, so, okay. If love could have a different spelling, it would be spelled O-V-E-L, oval, like the elliptical silhouette of a lover's eyes. Because love couldn't survive as a perfect circle. Like the earth or an egg, love must have survived a story, an imperfection. Just like winds erode the cragged edges of rock, love is an overcomer. It isn't an overachiever because rather than earning, love likes to learn. If love needs help, he seeks something bitter, like mom when she chopsticks 5 more stalks of steamed asparagus onto your clean plate, saying greens will make it all bitter, or she meant better. Love is sometimes careless though, burning his tongue on a bowl of porridge like Goldilocks, or burning his hand on the iron that was supposed to straighten his shirt for work. Love knows, however, that the iron, curtains, dinner, and laundry can only be done so fast with just a pair of hands. Hands that, when interlocked, can form a butterfly or become an owl. Most hands have wings that love uses to save, one on top of another, and the patient has regained their heart. one holding the other so he can learn to trust. One embracing the lower so someone discovers how to reach, and two cocooning together so that love can finally reteach how a caterpillar becomes a two-winged monarch, how an egg becomes a chicken, how a seed becomes a tree, because all of these were made of love. But none of these are as beautiful as us who lie thrashing in bed, mind filled with gravel and confusion until the day and hour we find out that our hearts are beating so fast, different from the way it does at the start of a horror movie, different from the way it does in front of your significant other. It's when every particle and artery tell you that this is the moment you've let go of yourself enough to slow down and let love find you. It's when little arms wrap around your waist in gratitude. It's when a small finger replaces your sweat with a cartoon sticker. It's when you finally get up and say, I like being here, I like doing this, because now you've used your heartstrings as ribbons to wrap the gift of giving up yourself for someone else. And that is when love is spelled O-V-E-L, oval. Because now you're going around the long way and back, and the first has finally become the last. Thank you.
Diction, is also a huge part of poetry. Like microcosm, community, place, or situation regarded as encapsulating a miniature, the characteristic qualities or features of something larger.
Then what about love?
Hi. So the title of my poem is On the Microcosm of Love, and it takes you around with my footsteps of how I learned what love meant and how to love one another, and it's a tribute to all the people who partook in that journey. So I hope you enjoy. 6 is the age when I learned that the world is a globe, a snow globe, sprinkled with the fine drops of snowflakes, drizzled on a perfect castle with knights in shining armor and princesses in lofty towers and a happily ever after. 16 is the age when I learned that the world is still a globe, but much less of a snow globe with a romantic landscape. It isn't peppered with gentle snowflakes that I can stick my tongue out to taste their softness, but instead flooded with roaring maelstroms and pounding whirlwinds, struck with lightning bolts and thunderclaps. The world isn't filled with Knights of the Round Table, or Aesop's Fable, or Disney Cable, but apparently with orange and crooked people. But the story has not ended and is teeming with hope for a happily ever after, because frankly, it's too early to say never. When I came home dismayed, shame tattooed on my heart and laughter's ringing in my ears because of the idealistic aperture through which I envisioned the world, you hugged me in your embrace, like chicken noodle soup for the cold, and with a susurrus in my ears told me I am an explorer, sailing through rough waves of reality with neither a map nor a compass because my destinations transcended the measurements of bearings. In the oscillating ocean, looking to swallow me whole like the big bad wolf in Red Riding Hood, I can look up to love as my North Star in the constellation-kissed night sky, guiding me through this labyrinth. You taught me, if life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. But if that lemonade is too sour and bitter, then pour in some hefty teaspoon of sugar for your sweet tooth and your sweet heart for love. But don't forget to use brown sugar because they're healthier, you'd say for a reminder. 7,553 miles is the distance I travel across the Pacific Ocean, tear-stained and bitter-minded, shifting from one continent to another, carried from one time zone to another, an adieu to sunrise, a bonjour to sunset, parting with all endearing memories to make room for new ones. I look for any breadcrumb trails to trace my way back home, but all I see is a blurry gray of the bleak cement floor of the airport, squeaking as if to mock and scorn my grief. It takes 15 hours and 30 minutes to find a new home. Silence blankets the whole journey as I sift through snapshots in the attic of my memory with a salty taste in mouth. 6,223 miles is the distance I will travel across the Pacific Ocean this summer, and this time I don't need any breadcrumbs or white pebbles to mark my path to home. You taught me that home isn't where I came from, but where I was heading towards, with my heart encased in love. That sometimes true love means to muster up the courage to let go. 1 is the number of times I see you cry alone, enveloped in the suffocating darkness of the night, when even the moon was veiled under the pitch black cloak. You forgot that I was a light sleeper. Your muffled cry was carried by the frosty breath of winter, and when I followed the smell of salt, I saw you in the room. Your petite figure hunched over, hushed tears streaming down your brown eyes, face covered in hands that I know are too small to capture all the teardrops you're shedding. You might think my memory would eclipse by time, but I still remember everything, and I even know why. 11 is the age when you showcase your culinary talents, not because your interests align with the craft, but because you have to, as the captain of the ship. You know that there will always be one vacant seat from the table from now on, one unoccupied room, one less pair of shoes, so you're not just the cook, but many other things in the family. The ultimate silver lining. Fireflies borrow light like stars, effaced in ephemeral and flickering sparks, but the quintessence of your love is bright and eternal, like the fire of Prometheus, timeless and sempiternal. 2 is the count of wrinkles on your forehead, no matter how much you insist that you're not growing older and I shouldn't be worried. 8 is the count of gray locks I see growing in your hair, although you're quite reluctant to share. 3 is the number of veins I can conspicuously trace on your right hand, the zigzag pattern of wrinkled creases painted on the back of a hand that was once too large for my own. You instilled in me the virtue of love and imbued me with its magnitude. You taught me that love is the chimerical instrument of translation, equipped to convert anything on the spectrum. Love can turn hatred to sympathy, discrimination to equality, mendacity to veracity, and darkness to light. 3 is the number of months that I have left with you, and 0 is the number of times I told you today, but infinity is the number of times I will say, I love you. Thank you.
You know what? I'm getting kind of hungry because it's almost end of AP.
But I thought you were on a diet. You know what? I don't think you should listen to the next poem.
Did someone say tacos?
Okay, so this is a really special poem. It comes from the bottom of my heart. The way the shells crunched away just made me say, nay. With my each and every bite, I felt the delight. The jalapenos failed to sting my mouth before they took the route south, along with the broccoli that was drizzled in guacamole. The ground meat that came straight out of the heat was delicious with some minced beef that made the chicken obsolete. The salsa ran down the paper wrap until it dripped straight into my precious Starbucks frap. Oozed slowly onto the plastic tray, only to leave an odd array that reminded me of lemonade. made a mess over my jeans that were distressed. The hard and rigid shells just failed to ring my Taco Bells. Failed to hold it together, so it just fell apart all together. But that burrito was so bonito. Unlike the taquitos, which are just small tacos, they kind of look like spring rolls that are missing its air holes. That soft and sturdy tortilla that I like to dip into a bowl of sriracha just screams to me, I gotcha. Those hard and rigid shells failed. Well, and all of that was held together with cheese so it doesn't crumble from a squeeze. The hard and rigid tacos break like flakes, but that soft and serving tortilla makes no mistake. So be a burrito, not a hard and rigid taco. Wrap the world with a serving heart and never fall apart. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. Now I'm hungry. Well, now, while the judges are scoring, we'll watch a fun video.
You are the one, girl, and you know that it's true. I'm feeling younger every time that I'm alone with you. We were sitting in a parked car, stealing kisses in the front yard. We got questions we should not ask, but how would you feel if I told you I loved you? It's just something that I want to do. I'll be taking my time, spending my life, falling deeper in love with you. So tell me that you love me too. In the summer, as the lilacs bloom, love flows deeper than the river. Every moment that I spend with you.
Moving on, now we're going to announce the first and second winner.
right. Hi, yes. Thank you for your applause and supporting your peers the way that you did this year. I think they did a fabulous job, and many of them wrote from the heart. So if we can give them all a round of applause. For this year's Poetry Slam, we have our winner, Kalista Ogburn. So if you can come up, yeah. If I can have you go up on the stage. Our runner-up, Christina. So go on up, my dear. So if I can have you guys just stay on the stage so we can take a photo of you, the two of you. Maybe if you can move over in front of the curtain. And then we're going to vote for the crowd favorite. Do we need to guess?
Now it's your time to be involved. As I call out each contestant one by one, please cheer the loudest for the one you think deserves the Best Crowd Award. Hano. Mia. Kalista. Oops, Maddie. Francis. Brian. Daren, Megan, Jorge, Sarah, Stephanie, Brendan.
Please come up, Brendan. Our favorite crowd award goes to Brendan Lee. Can every contestant come up to the stage, please? And the rest of you.
Before we head out, let's give a big round of applause once again to the contestants.
For the judges.
Hannah Lee for the beautiful trophies.
And last but not least, all the English department teachers, especially Mrs. Dietliffs.
And for you, Yuri.
No, for you, Andy.
Well, we finally learned how to serve one another in love. Knowing this, I can happily say that it is a wrap for the 2017 Poetry Slam.
Thank you, everyone. You guys are dismissed.